The three of us entered the dining room of a memory care center at lunchtime. There were three elderly women sitting around a table, one of whom had her back to us. That was the one we had come to see. My sister Kathy led the way, and my husband Arnie followed me. As Kathy approached this woman, she walked in front of her and said, "I brought you a surprise." The woman turned, looked at Kathy, and then glanced in my direction. There was no ounce of recognition when the woman looked at me. She didn't know who I was. My sister said, "I brought Jackie with me." "My daughter, Jackie?" was her response. We hugged, and our eyes were wet. My mother knew who I was, and I knew the effects that Alzheimer's had had on her memory. It had been 2.5 years since I had seen my mother. She knew me then. She didn't know me now. Except for that one moment of recognition when I do believe she knew who I was. The 30 minutes of time we spent with her, however, there were several occasions when she would look at me again and ask, "Now, who are you?" Or she would say, "Now, you're my daughter?" I spent time showing pictures to her of my children and my grandchildren, her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, none of whom she recognized. Alzheimer's is a devastating disease. It takes our memories. It takes our experiences. It takes our intellect. It takes the memories of relationships that we've had, and it takes our emotions. On the plane down, flying into the Phoenix area to see my mother, I began again to read a book that I had read many, many years ago. The author is Bernie Siegel, MD, and the title is Love, Medicine, and Miracles. Lessons learned about self-healing from a surgeon's experience with exceptional patients. I love the word exceptional because it's in the title of my book as well as the word self. I wrote a book titled Self-Centered Leadership: Becoming Influential, Intentional, and Exceptional. I believe we can all be exceptional leaders by developing 4 traits, which SELF is an acronym for: sacrifice, empowerment, love, and friendship. In fact, Bernie Siegel mentions love in the title of his book because in the research that he personally did as a surgeon, as a physician, he decided that he would love his patients. He would develop a loving relationship with each of them and not just see them as a disease, as cancer or diabetes, or label them in any other way. In doing so, Dr. Siegel was able to determine that many times we are diagnosed with illnesses and diseases such as cancer, there is a direct correlation between our emotions and our choices and the experiences that we've had prior to that diagnosis. That there is a link, a very strong link, between the illnesses that we develop and the experiences, emotions, trauma, and the events that have shaped our character. I believe his assumptions are correct, and I believe there's much value to his research. I'm going to explain what I mean a little further in my blog post today, and I hope you will take opportunity to read the rest of my post and see if you might agree with me and with Dr. Siegel that there are ways to become exceptional, and that one of those ways is love.